Welcome to the Sales Enablement Innovation Podcast, brought to you by the Sales Enablement Collective. Each episode, we sit down with sales enablement and revenue leaders from around the world and invite them to share their expertise and experience with the community. On this special episode, recorded live at the Sales Enablement Summit in London, we spoke to Bana Kawar, Senior Sales Enablement Lead at AWS, about AI and enablement. Hey Bana, thanks for taking the time, really appreciate it. Could you introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a little bit of an overview of your enablement experience and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Daniel, and thank you for anyone who's listening to this. My name is Bana Kawar. A tech avid learner, I would say, to describe myself, and a huge bookworm. Any kind of books from fiction to psychology to thrillers would be an interest. At the moment, I lead the UK public sector enablement strategy at Amazon Web Services. I've been with the company coming up to 8 years in January, and my career has taken me into a squiggly path, if I can say so, moving from the world of finance, analytics, and marketing until I found my passion in enablement. I've been doing that for a few years now, and outside of work, I career coach into NGOs here in the UK because I'd like to help professionals and less privileged in the society reach their goals as well. And on top of all of that, I've co-founded the ID&E, so Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity chapter at Amazon Web Services a few years ago. And yeah, I'm quite happy at how far we've come. Lots to be done. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
That's awesome. And today at the event, you're going to be talking about AI and how you can use it in enablement. I'd be interested to know how you're actually using AI right now in sort of to assist your enablement efforts, because I think people kind of use ChatGPT a bit maybe and things, but sort of what are the actionable ways you're actually putting it into use?
Yeah, sure. So I believe we're all on the same learning journey. I've been experimenting with the technology and using it quite heavily in the past 12 months, now far more than before. I'm a believer in using diverse foundation models and finding out what works for you and your customers. So you mentioned ChatGPT, that's a good example, and they're far more around the block. And I feel it's important to take a step back, educate yourself on what's out there, and figure out how to use it. So to your question, how am I integrating that into the world of enablement? One would definitely be content creation. So as an enabler, we often spend hours putting content together, whether it's sales plays, pitches, customer conversations, best practices, battle cards, etc. I feel like we can take a step back and for the first time co-create instead of creating in silo and asking for QAs after. So that's definitely one way where I'm seeing the benefits of this technology. The downstream impact of this is actually freeing my time to focus on more impactful things and dive deeper on where it's necessary. The second use case, and actually it's my favorite, I'm going to speak about this later today, is the power of generative BI, so business intelligence, where you can apply generative AI to tell a story from the large data sets that your organization harvests and look at that to drive and accelerate decision making. So prime example, if you want to look at, for example, organic accounts and how to convert them into paid accounts to boost your bottom line, you can do all of that in a matter of seconds when you have generative BI at your side and create that storyline for you in different formats to tell a story and where you need to focus your efforts with your partners and also with your customers, and take that back to your leadership teams. So those are two common ways where I'm seeing the value, and I will continue to experiment to make the best use of it and see what else is out there.
That makes sense. And I guess how far along is the technology? Like, are you 100% confident? 95? Like, how much checking over and things do you do? Because I think, especially with ChatGPT and the things that people have experience with, maybe they have in their head that they need to double, triple, quadruple check it just to make sure if it's accurate and things. So how accurate are you finding the technology to be?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I wouldn't say I'm 100% there. I'm still learning, and I love learning, and I think time will tell how confident you get. So I wouldn't say I'm there yet, not at all. You touched on a really important topic, the human aspect of it. I genuinely believe till this day, any foundation model I've used, whether it's ChatGPT from OpenAI or Claude from Anthropic, or Google's Bard, etc., that you have to inspect the output. You have to actually make sure that there is enough context fed beforehand to pre-train and what we call today prompt engineering, where you're basically adding to the context and building on what you've already asked it to iterate on the output and make sure you can use that in whatever you need it to do. The one thing I would advise to look into is a white paper from PwC on responsible AI and AI ethics. That framework has really helped me understand and shift my thinking on what's important and how the human element, inspection, policies, and consistent enablement needs to be across the board. So even if you look at a company like Anthropic today, they were releasing a few of their features and updates last night during reInvent keynote speech. And one of the things that stuck with me was the fact that they are testing multiple times if the model can be break. So if someone is able to break their large language models, that already tells you that there's still a lot of work to be done in that area. So I hope this gives you a bit of insights how important responsible AI is. And I genuinely believe the human element, from what I know today, cannot be replaced.
That's really interesting, because I was gonna sort of follow up on that. In terms of, you mentioned that creating content and business analytics, those all have that human element. Do you ever think we're going to get to a point where AI can enable a rep individually in the way that, say, you might coach a rep in that? So can AI get there, or is that sort of far-fetched in the future? How do you see that, I guess?
Yeah. I'm a believer in this technology when used responsibly. I do believe it augments and elevates a role. So to answer your question, I do believe that it can help a rep to enable them, to bring them up to speed, to go to market faster. Would it entirely replace, for example, an enablement function? I do not think so. However, if we look at some of the daily tasks that a seller needs to do, prime example from different organizations is their manual entry of data in whatever CRM they're using, right? So that can be all automated through the good usage of generative AI technology and giving them more time to focus on the sales motion, their customers' need, and going to market faster than just focusing on what they're inputting, right? So that's one way of how it can support an AI, support a rep. The second thing that comes to mind is coaching. So we hear a lot about the importance of coaching and making sure that sellers are on message, are empathizing with their customer needs, and are building backwards from there. AI today can be pre-trained again and again to actually help support the coaching process of a rep. So you can already train models. For example, we're seeing right now in the market some decent examples of AI pitches or AI coaches, where you're already feeding it what good looks like, giving it the scoring, giving it also further examples of what's bar raising, what's meeting the bar, and what's below bar. And that can already help the rep in their pitches before they actually have a customer conversation. And imagine the power of that across the sales motion, right? So moving from how you prospect to how you start approaching a customer when you need to negotiate or come to objection handling, and keeping a lead warm and then riding throughout this journey until you acquire that account or increase their expenditure with you. So those are two common ways where I do believe that AI can definitely enable a rep without fully replacing an enabler.
I really like that, and I like the emphasis that you've had on, I guess, the human is still there, and the human it's assistant to the human, and sort of enhancing what you're doing. I really like that, because I think everyone had that moment of a bit of, are we going to get replaced by AI type of thing? But I really like that perspective. And so I want to ask as well, what would your advice be to someone who hasn't started adopting AI? Mm-hmm. You know, there's we saw in the talk earlier, most people have dabbled in it at least, but if someone hasn't sort of tried to apply it to their enablement yet, where would you tell someone to start, or how would you get them started on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've all been there, and we're all learning. It's an amazing journey, and my biggest piece of advice would be start small. That's how I started. So last year when the technology came out, I still remember I spent a good chunk of my Christmas break just reading, understanding what is going on, what problems could it solve, and why. I love frameworks. So one framework that really stuck with me that I stumbled on a couple of weeks ago is LEAP. And it stands for learning about the technology. So reading about it, understanding what foundation models are out there, what are the pros and cons of each, taking a step back and then engaging with it. So learning about it, reading, all of that is good, but you need to start applying it, right? Which takes me to the adjusting part. A lot of the technologies you've mentioned and we spoke about a bit, and we'll speak about later today, can really help you accelerate some of the decision making you need to do, or even automate some of the manual processes that you're currently going through. So adjusting your practices based on the value you're getting. And a very simple tip here would be co-creation. So you don't have to jump into, for example, generative BI all at once and think of predictive analytics and all of that. You can take a step back and think, okay, I'm about to create a sales pitch. How does that look like? And start experimenting there. And finally, the last letter P, so from LEAP, is practicing. I do believe practice makes perfect, and we're all on this journey once again, so you can go ahead and do all of that work. Also realizing that this technology is, I believe, here to stay, and we're just scratching the surface. So about time to ride this wave, understand pros and cons, and once again, using it responsibly really goes a long way. So if you approach it from that perspective, I believe we will reach new heights. And finally, one last thought. Depending on how you like to learn, I love listening to audiobooks and podcasts and all of that on the go. And in London, people are spending a lot of time on the tube. So there are a lot of good podcasts out there on the topic. One that I like is Last Week in AI is a good example. And if you're more interested in bite-sized newsletters, etc., there's more on LinkedIn. Plus, I do recommend for anyone new to start following the co-founder of Google Brain, Andrew Ng, who has a few good courses for free that you can take just to introduce you to the technology. And also listen to him speak about it and the importance of accessibility and ethics. So yeah, zooming out to summarize, because I think I rambled and dove deeper on this. Again, LEAP, learn about it, engage with it, apply it and adjust your ways of working and practice to think, depending how you like to consume knowledge, look at some of the experts and take it one step at a time would be my third and last advice. Pick a project and start applying.
I really like that, and I think especially I like the framework idea and actually getting something in structurally that you can work with. I think that's all we have time for, unfortunately. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to your talk next week. I'm definitely I'm definitely going to sneak into the room to listen in. So thanks for taking a little bit of time to chat to me about the wonderful world of AI, really.
Thanks very much, and thank you for having me, and look forward to working with you further. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Sales Enablement Innovation Podcast. Be sure to follow us on your podcast platform of choice so you don't miss a thing. And if you're hungry for more sales enablement content, visit our website, salesenablementcollective.com, for articles, events, and an easy way to join our Slack community, home to thousands of your sales enablement peers.